Sarupam. Namo Sai Natham, Namo Sai Natham, Namo Sai Natham, Namo Sai Natham. Sai Dayalam, Sai Kripalam, Sai Ananta Triguna Sarupam. Sai Dayalam, Sai Kripalam, Sai Ananta Triguna Sarupam. Namo Sai Natham, 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 Namo Sai Natham. Sai Dayalam, Sai Kripalam, Sai Ananta Triguna Sarupam. Sai Dayalam, Sai Kripalam, Sai Ananta Triguna Sarupam. Namo Sai Natham, Namo Sai Natham, Namo Sai Natham, Namo Sai Natham. Sai Dayalam, Sai Kripalam, Sai Ananta Triguna Sarupam. Sai Dayalam, Sai Kripalam, Sai Ananta Triguna Sarupam.
Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Welcome to day 4. Bless us, Sai, bless us, Sai. Bless thy child, Sai. Answer our prayers. Strengthen our devotion. Bless us, Sai, bless us, Sai. Remove our sorrows. Shower us with happiness. Listen to thy child's prayer. Bless us, Sai, bless us, Sai. Sai is life, Sai is prayer. Sai is kirtan, Sai is wealth. Sai is bliss, Sai is heaven. Bless us, Sai, bless us, Sai. Sai is contentment, Sai is peace. Sai is God incarnate. Sai is universe, Sai is mercy. Sai is wisdom. Bless us, Sai, bless us, Sai. Sai is righteousness, Sai is deliverance. Sai is absolute reality. Bless us, Sai, bless us, Sai. Sai is Christ, Sai is Nanak, Sai is Hindu, Sai is Muslim. Bless us, Sai is truth, Sai is nectar. Bless us, Sai, bless us, Sai. Sai is Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma. Sai is simple, loving, caring. Sai is mother, father, guru. Sai is pran, Sai is soul. Bless us, Sai, bless us, Sai.
Chapter 23. Yoga and Onion. Shama cured of snake bite, cholera ordinance broken, ordeal of Guru Bhakti. Preliminary. Really, this jiva, human soul, transcends the three qualities, sattva, rajas, and tamas. But being deluded by Maya, he forgets his nature, which is existence, knowledge, bliss, and thinks that he is the doer and enjoyer, and thus entangles himself in endless miseries, and does not know the way of deliverance. The only way of deliverance is loving devotion towards the Guru's feet. The great player or actor Lord Sai has delighted his bhaktas and transformed them into himself, his nature. We regard Sai Baba as an incarnation of God for reasons already stated, but he always said that he was an obedient servant of God. Though an incarnation, he showed the people the way, how to behave satisfactorily and carry out the duties of their respective stations, varnas, in this life. He never emulated others in any way, nor asked others to have something done for him. For him, who saw the Lord in all movable and immovable things of this world, humility was the most proper thing. None he disregarded or disrespected, for he saw Narayan, Lord in all beings. He never said, I am God, but that he was a humble servant, and he always remembered him and always uttered, Allah Malik. God is the sole proprietor or owner. We do not know the various kinds of saints, how they behave, what they do and eat, etc. We only know that by God's grace they manifest themselves in this world to liberate the ignorant and bound souls. If there be any store of merits on our account, we get a desire in listening to the stories and leelas of the saints, otherwise not. Let us now turn to the main stories of this chapter. Yoga and Onion. Once it so happened that a sadhak of yoga came to Shirdi with Nana Sahib Chandokar. He had studied all the works on yoga, including the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, but had no practical experience. He could not concentrate his mind and attain samadhi even for a short time. He thought that if Sai Baba be pleased with him, he will show him the way to attain samadhi for a long time. With this object in view, he came to Shirdi, and when he went to the masjid, he saw Sai Baba eating bread with onion. On seeing this, a thought arose in his mind. How can this man, eating stale bread with raw onion, solve my difficulties and help me? Sai Baba read his mind and said to Nana Sahib, "O Nana, he who has the power to digest onion should eat it and none else." Hearing this remark, the yogi was wonderstruck, and then he fell at Baba's feet with complete surrender. With pure and open mind, he asked his difficulties and got the solution from Baba. Thus being satisfied and happy, he left Shirdi with Baba's Vidhi and blessings. Shama cured a snake bite. Before Hemad Pant begins the story, he says about the jiva that can be very well compared with a parrot, and that they are both bound, the one in the body and the other in a cage. Both think that their present bound state is good for them. It is only when a helper, a guru, comes and by God's grace opens their eyes and liberates them from bondage, that their eyes are open to a greater and larger life, compared to which their former limited life is nothing. In the last chapter, it was shown how Baba anticipated the calamity that was to befall on Mirigar and rescued him from it. Now let the readers hear a story grander than that. Once Shama was bitten by a poisonous snake. His little finger of the hand was stung and the poison began to spread into the body. The pain was also severe and Shama thought that he would pass off soon. His friends wanted to take him to the god Viroba, where such cases were often sent, but Shama ran to the masjid, to his Viroba, Sai Baba. When Baba saw him, he began to scold and abuse. He got enraged and said, "O vile Baturya priest, do not climb up. Beware if you do so," and then roared, "Go, get away, come down." Seeing Baba thus red with wrath, Shama was greatly puzzled and disappointed. He thought that the masjid was his home and Sai Baba was his sole refuge. But if he was driven away like this, where should he go? He lost all hope of life and kept silent. After a time, Baba became normal and calm when Shama went up and sat near. Then Baba said to him, "Don't be afraid. Don't care a jot. The merciful Fakir will save you. Go and sit quiet at home and don't go out. Believe in me and remain fearless and have no anxiety." Then he was sent home. Immediately afterwards, Baba sent Tatya Patil and Kaka Sahib Dixit to him with instructions to the effect that he should eat what he liked, should move in the home, but should never lie down and sleep. Needless to say that these instructions were acted upon and Shama got all right in a short time. The only thing to be remembered in this connection to this, the words of Baba, or the 5-syllabled mantra, "Go, get away, come down," were not addressed to Shama, as it apparently looked, but they were a direct order to the snake and its poison to not go up and circulate through Shama's body. Like others well versed in mantra shastra, He had not to use any incantation, charged rice or water, etc. His words only were the most efficacious in saving the life of Shama. Anyone hearing this story and other similar ones will beget firm faith in the feet of Sai Baba, and the only way to cross the ocean of Maya is to remember ever the feet of Baba in the heart. Cholera epidemic. Once, cholera was raging virulently in Shirdi. The residents were much frightened, and they stopped all communication with the outside people. The Panchas of the village assembled together and decided upon 2 ordinances as a remedy to check and put down the epidemic. They were: no fuel cart should be allowed to come in the village, and 2, no goat should be killed there. If anybody disobeyed these ordinances, they were to be fined by the village authorities and Panchas. Baba knew that all this was mere superstition, and therefore he cared 2 pence for the cholera ordinances. While the ordinances were in force, a fuel cart came there and wanted to enter the village. Everybody knew that there was a dearth of fuel in the village. Still, the people began to drive away the fuel cart. Baba came to know of this. He came to the spot and asked the cartman to take the fuel cart to the masjid. No one dared to raise his voice against the action of Baba. He wanted fuel for his duni, and so he purchased it. Like an Agnihotri keeping his sacred fire alive throughout his life, Baba kept his duni ever burning all day and night, and for this he always stocked fuel. Baba's home, the masjid, was free and open to all. It had no lock and key, and some poor people removed some wood from there for their use. Baba did not grumble about this. Baba saw that the whole universe was pervaded by the Almighty, and so he never bore enmity or ill will to anybody. Though perfectly detached, he behaved like an ordinary householder to set an example to the people. Ordeal of Guru Bhakti. Let us now see how the second cholera ordinance fared with Baba. While it was in force, somebody brought a goat to the masjid. It was weak, old, and about to die. At this time, Fakir Bir Muhammad of Malegaon, alias Bare Baba, was near. Sai Baba asked him to behead it with 1 stroke and offer it as an oblation. This Bare Baba was much respected by Sai Baba, and he always sat on the right hand of Sai Baba. After the Jilum pipe was first smoked by him, it was then offered to Baba and others. After the dishes were served at the time of taking meals at noon, Baba respectfully called Bare Baba and made him sit on his left side, and then all partook of food. Baba paid him also daily rupees 50 out of the amount collected as dakshina. Baba accompanied him 100 paces whenever he was going away. Such was his position with Baba. But when Baba asked him to behead the goat, he flatly refused, saying, "Why should it be killed for nothing?" Then Baba asked Shama to kill it. He went to Radha Krishna Mai and brought a knife from her and placed it before Baba. Knowing the purpose for which the knife was taken, she recalled it. Then Shama went to bring another knife, but stayed in the Wada and did not return soon. Then came the turn of Kaka Sahib Dixit. He was good gold, no doubt, but he had to be tested. Baba asked him to get a knife and kill the goat. He went to Sateh's Wada and returned with a knife. He was ready to kill it at Baba's bidding. He was born in a pure Brahmin family and never in his life knew killing. Though quite averse to do any acts of violence, he made himself bold to kill the goat. All the people wondered to see that Bare Baba, a Mohammedan, was unwilling to kill it, while this pure Brahmin was making preparations to do so. He tightened his dhurta and with a semicircular motion raised his hand with the knife and looked at Baba for the final signal. Baba said, "What are you thinking of? Go on, strike." But when the hand was just about to come down, Baba said, "Stop! How cruel you are! Being a Brahmin, you are killing a goat." Kaka Sahib obeyed and kept the knife down and said to Baba, "Your nectar-like word is law unto us. We do not know any other ordinance. We remember you always, meditate on your form, and obey you day and night. We do not know or consider whether it is right or wrong to kill. We do not want to reason or discuss this, but implicit and prompt compliance with Guru's orders is our duty and dharma. Then Baba said to Kaka Saheb that he would himself do the offering and killing business. It was settled that the goat should be disposed of a near place called Takya, where fakirs used to sit. Then when the goat was being removed to that place, it fell dead on the way. Hemad Pant closes the chapter with a classification of disciples. He says that there are 3 kinds. 1, first or best. 2, second or middling. And 3, third or ordinary. The best kind of disciples are those who guess what the gurus want and immediately carry out, and serve them without waiting for an order from them. The average disciples are the ones who carry out the orders of their masters to a letter without any delay. And the third kind of disciples are those who go on postponing the carrying out of their orders and making mistakes at every step. The disciples should have firm faith, backed up by intelligence, and if they and patience to these, their spiritual goal will not be distance. Control of breath, ingoing and outgoing, or hatha yoga, or other difficult practices are not necessary at all. When the disciples get the above-mentioned qualities, they become ready for further instructions, and the masters then appear and lead them on in their spiritual path to perfection. In the next chapter, we will deal with Baba's interesting wit and humour. Bow to Shri Sai, peace be to all.
Chapter 24. Baba's wit and humour, Chanak Leela, Hemad Pant, Sudama, Anna Chinchanikar versus Mavsi Bhai. Preliminary. To say that we shall state such and such in the next or this chapter is a sort of egoism. Unless we surrender our ego to the feet of our Sadguru, we will not succeed in our undertaking. If we become egoless, then our success is assured. By worshipping Sai Baba, we attain both the objects, worldly and spiritual, and are fixed in our true nature and get peace and happiness. Therefore, those who want to gain their welfare should respectfully hear Sai Baba's Leelas or stories and meditate on them. If they do this, they will easily attain the object of their life and get bliss. Generally, all people like wit and humor, but they do not like that jokes should be cut at their expense. But Baba's method was peculiar. When it was accompanied with gestures, it was very interesting and instructive, and the people, therefore, did not mind. If they were held up to ridicule, Hemad Pant gives his own instance below. Janak Leela. In Shirdi, bazaar was held every Sunday, and people from the neighboring villages came there, erected booths and stalls on the street, and sold their wares and commodities. Every noon, the masjid was crowded, more or less, but on Sunday, it was crowded to suffocation. On one such Sunday, Hemad Pant sat in front of Baba, shampooing his legs and muttering God's name. Shamma was on Baba's left, Vamarao to the right of Baba. Shriman Bhuti and Kakasab Dixit and others were also present. Then Shamma laughed and said to Anna Sahib, "See that some grains seem to have stuck to the sleeve of your coat." So saying, he touched the sleeve and found that there were some grains. Hemad Pant straightened his left forearm to see what the matter was, when to the surprise of all, some grains of grams came rolling down and were picked up by the people who were sitting there. This incident furnished a subject matter of joke. Everybody present began to wonder and say something or other as to how the grains found their way into the sleeve of the coat and lodged there so long. Hemad Pant also could not guess how they found an entrance and stayed there. When nobody could give any satisfactory explanation in this matter and everybody was wondering about this mystery, Baba said as follows. Baba goes on to say, This fellow, Anna Sahib, has got the bad habit of eating alone. Today is a bazaar day and he came here chewing grams. I know his habit and these grams are a proof of it. What wonder is there in this matter? So Hemad Pant says, Baba, I never know of eating things alone. Then why do you thrust this bad habit on me? I have never yet seen Shirdi Bazaar. I never went to the bazaar today. Then how could I buy grams and how could I eat them if I had not bought them? I never eat anything unless I share it with others who are present near me. Baba says, it is true that you give to the persons present, but if none be there but nearby, what could you or I do? But do you remember me before eating? Am I not always with you? Then do you offer me anything before you eat? Moral. Let us mark and note carefully what Baba taught us by this incident. He has advised us that before the senses, mind, and intellect enjoy their objects, he should first be remembered, and if this be done, it is in a way an offering to him. The senses, etc., can never remain without their objects, but if these objects are first offered to the Guru, the attachments for them will naturally vanish. In this way, all the vrittis, thoughts regarding desire, anger, avarice, etc., should first be offered and directed to the Guru. And if this practice be followed, the Lord will help you in eradicating all the vrittis. When before enjoyment of the objects you think that Baba is close by, the question whether the object is fit to be enjoyed or not will at once arise. When the object that is not fit to be enjoyed will be shunned, and in this way our vicious habits or vices will disappear and our character will improve. Then love for the Guru will grow and pure knowledge will sprout up. When this knowledge grows, the bondage of body consciousness, we are the body, will snap and our intellect will be merged in spirit consciousness. We are the spirit. Then we shall get bliss and contentment. There is no difference between Guru and God. He who sees any difference in them sees God nowhere. So, leaving aside all ideas of difference, we should regard Guru and God as one. And if we serve our Guru as stated above, the Lord God will be certainly pleased, and purifying our minds, He will give us self-realization. To put the matter in a nutshell, we should not enjoy any object with our senses, etc., without first remembering our Guru. When the mind is trained in this way, we will always be reminded of Baba, and our meditation on Baba will grow apace. The Sagun form of Baba will ever be before our eyes, and then devotion, non-attachment, and salvation will be ours. When Baba's form is thus fixed before our mental vision, we forget hunger, thirst, and this samsara. The consciousness of worldly pleasures will disappear and our mind shall attain peace and happiness. Sudama's story. When the above story was being narrated, Hemad Pant was reminded of a similar story of Sudama, which illustrates the same principle, and therefore it is given here. Shri Krishna and his elder brother Balaram were living with a co-student named Sudama in the ashram of their guru. Ashram of their guru Sandipani. Once Krishna and Balaram were sent to the forest for bringing fuel. Then the wife of Sandipani sent also Sudama for the same purpose with some quantity of grams for the three. When Krishna met Sudama in the forest, he said to them, Dada, I want water as I am thirsty. Sudama replied, no water should be drunk on an empty stomach, so it is better to rest a while. He did not say that he had got grams with him and that he should take some. As Krishna was tired, he lay down for rest on the lap of Sudama and was snoring. Seeing this, Sudama took out the grams and began to eat. Then Krishna suddenly asked him, Dada, what are you eating? Whence is the sound? He replied. What is there to eat? I am shivering with cold and my teeth are chattering. I can't even repeat distinctly the Vishnu Sahasranama. Hearing this, the omniscient Krishna said, I just had a dream in which I saw a man eating things of another. And when asked about this, he said, what earth dust should he eat? Meaning thereby that he had nothing to eat. The other man said, let it be so. Dada, this is only a dream. I know that you won't eat anything without me. Under the influence of the dream, I asked you what you were eating. If Sudama had known a bit of the omniscient Shri Krishna and his Leelas, he would not have acted as he did. Therefore, he had to suffer for what he did. Though he was a chum of Shri Krishna, he had to pass his later life in utter poverty. And when he later offered Krishna a handful of parched rice earned by his wife with her own labor, Krishna was pleased and gave him a golden city to enjoy. This story should be remembered by those who have the habit of eating things alone without partaking them with others. The Shruti also emphasizes this lesson and asks us to offer things first to God and then enjoy them after they are renounced by Him. Baba has also taught us the same lesson in his imitable and humorous way. Anna Chinchanikar versus Mavsibai. Hemant Pant now describes another witty incident in which Baba played a peacemaker's part. There was one devotee by name Damodar Gansham Babre, alias Anna Chinchanikar. He was simple, rough, straightforward. He cared for nobody, always spoke plainly, and carried all dealings in cash. Though he looked outwardly harsh and uncompromising, he was good-natured and guileless. So Sai Baba loved him. One day, like others, serving Baba in their own way, this Anna was one noon standing prone and was shampooing the left arm of Baba, which rested on the Gathada railing. On the right side, one old widow named Venubai Kujalgi, whom Baba called Mother, and all others Mavsibai, were serving Baba in her own way. This Mavsibai was an elderly woman of pure heart. She clasped the fingers of both her hands round the trunk of Baba and was at this time kneading Baba's abdomen. She did this so forcibly that Baba's back and abdomen became flat, and Baba moved from side to side. Anna on the other side was steady, but Mavsibai's face moved up and down with her strokes. Once it so happened that her face came very close to Anna's. Being of a witty disposition, she remarked, "Oh, this Anna is a lewd, bad fellow. He wants to kiss me. Being so old with grey hair, he feels no shame in kissing me." These words enraged Anna, and he pulled up his sleeves and said, "You say that I am an old bad fellow. Am I? Quite a fool? It is you that have picked up a quarrel and are quarrelling with me." All the persons that were present were enjoying this encounter between them. Baba, who loved both of them equally and wanted to pacify them, managed the affair very skillfully. Lovingly, he said, "Oh, Anna, why are you unnecessarily raising this hue and cry? I do not understand what impropriety is there when the mother is kissed." Hearing these words of Baba, both of them were satisfied, and all the persons laughed merrily and enjoyed Baba's wit to their heart's content. Baba's characteristics, his dependency on bhaktas. Baba allowed his devotees to serve him in their own way and did not like any other persons interfering in this. To quote an instant, the same Mavsibai was on another occasion kneading Baba's abdomen. Seeing the fury and force used by her, all the other devotees felt nervous and anxious. They said, "Oh, Mother, be considerate and moderate, otherwise you will break Baba's arteries and nerves." At this, Baba got up at once from his seat, dashed his satka on the ground, He got enraged and his eyes became red like live charcoal. None dared to stand before or face Baba. Then he took hold of one end of the satka. With both hands, he pressed it in the hollow of his abdomen. The other end he fixed to the post and began to press his abdomen against it. The satka, which was about 2 or 3 feet in length, seemed all to go into the abdomen, and the people feared that the abdomen would be ruptured in a short time. The post was fixed and immovable, and Baba began to go closer and closer to it and clasped the post firmly. Every moment the rupture was expected, and they were all dismayed, did not know what to do, and stood dumb with wonder and fear. Baba suffered this ordeal for the sake of his bhakta. The other devotees wanted only to give a hint to the Mavsi Bai to be moderate in her service and not cause any trouble or pain to Baba. This they did with good intention, but Baba did not brook even this. They were surprised to see that their well-intentioned effort resulted in this catastrophe, and they could do nothing but wait and see. Fortunately, Baba's rage soon cooled down, and he left the satka and resumed his seat. From this time onwards, the devotees took the lesson that they should not meddle with anybody, but allow him to serve Baba as he chooses, as he was capable to gauge the merits and worth of the service rendered unto him. Bow to Shri Sai, peace be to all.
Satan, can you unmute? Mute and Arvind, bye.
Yes, okay.
I am unmuted.
Yeah. Sorry. Chapter 25. Damu Anna Kasar of Ahmednagar. First, speculations. Secondly, Amra Lila. Preliminary. We begin this chapter with a bow with all our 8 limbs to Sai Baba, who is an ocean of mercy, the God incarnate, who is Parabrahman and the great Yogeshwara, Lord of Yoga. Victory be unto Sai Baba, who is the crest jewel of the saints, who is the home of all auspicious things, who is our Atmaram, dear self, and who is able refuge of the devotees. We prostrate ourselves before him, who has attained the aim and end of life. Sai Baba is always full of mercy. What is wanted on our part is wholehearted devotion to him. When a devotee has got firm faith and devotion, his wishes are soon fulfilled. When the desire arose in the mind of Hemant to write the life and Leelas of Sai Baba, he immediately got it written by him. When the order to keep the memos was given, Hemant was inspired, and his intellect got strength and boldness to undertake and finish the work. He was not, he say, qualified to write the work, but the gracious blessings of Baba enabled him to complete the undertaking. And thus, you have this Charitra, which is a Somakant jewel, from which nectar in the form of sign Leelas oozes out for the readers to drink to their heart's content. Whenever a devotee had complete and wholehearted devotion to Sai Baba, all his calamities and dangers were warded off and his welfare attended to by Baba. The story of Damodar Savalaram Resani, Kasar of Ahmednagar, now of Pune, alias Damu Anna, illustrating the above statement, is given below. Damu Anna. The readers are aware that a mention of this gentleman was made in the 6th chapter regarding the celebration of Ram Navami festival in Shirdi. He went to Shirdi about the year 1895, when the Ram Navami Utsav celebration began, and from that time he has been providing an ornamental flag for that occasion every year. He also feeds the poor and the fakirs that come there for the festival. His speculations. First one is cotton. A Bombay friend of Damu Anna wrote to him that they should do some cotton speculation business in partnership, which would bring them about 2 lakhs of rupees as profit. Damu Anna says in his statement made about the year 1936 to Mr. B.V. Narasimha Swamy that the proposal about speculating at Bombay in cotton was from a broker who was not to be a partner, and that he, Damu Anna, was to be the sole adventurer. Read page 75 of the Devotees' Experiences, Part 2. The broker wrote that the business was good and involved no risks, and that the opportunity should not be lost. Damu Anna was oscillating in his mind. He could not at once determine to venture in the speculation. He thought about this, and he was a devotee of Baba. He wrote a detailed letter to Shama, giving all the facts, and requested him to consult Baba and take his advice in the matter. Shama got the letter the next day, and when he came with it at noon to the masjid and placed it before Baba, he asked Shama what the matter was and what the paper, meaning the letter, was about. He replied that Damu Anna of Nagar wanted to consult him about something. Then Baba said, "What does he write? And what does he plan?" It seems that he wants to catch the sky, and that he is not content with what God has given him. Read his letter. Shama then said, "The letter contains what you have just said now. O Deva, you sit here calm and composed and agitate the devotees, and when they get restless, you draw them here, some in person and others through letters. If you know the contents of the latter, why do you then press me to read it?" Baba said, "Oh Shama, read it, please. I speak at random, and who believes me?" Then Shama read the letter, and Baba heard it attentively and said feelingly, "The Sheth, Damu Anna, has gone mad. Write to him in reply that nothing is wanting in this house or in his house. Let him be content with the half loaf of bread he has now, and let him not bother himself about lakhs." Shama sent the reply which Dama Annu was anxiously waiting for. Reading it, he found that all his hopes and prospects about lakhs of rupees as profit were dashed to the ground. He thought that he had done a mistake in consulting Baba. But as Shama had hinted in the reply, that there was always much difference in seeing and hearing, and that therefore he should come to Shirdi personally and see Baba. He thought it advisable to go to Shirdi and consult Baba personally about the affair. So he went to Shirdi, saw Baba, prostrated himself before him, and sat shampooing his legs. He had no courage to ask Baba openly about the speculation, but he thought in his mind that it would be better if some share in the business should be assigned to Baba, and said in his mind that if Baba were to help him in this transaction, he would surrender some share of profits to him. Damu Anna was thus thinking secretly in his mind, but nothing was veiled from Baba. Everything past, present, and future were clear to him, and as an amalak fruit in hand, a child wants sweets, but its mother gives bitter pills. The former spoils its health, while the latter improves it. So the mother, looking to the welfare of her infant, coaxes it and gives it bitter pills. Baba, kind mother as he was, knew the present and the future prospects of his devotees, and therefore, reading Dama Annu's mind, he openly spoke to him. Bapu, I do not want to be entangled in any such worldly things, sharing profits. Seeing Baba's disapproval, Damu Anna dropped the enterprise. Second item, grain dealing. Then he thought of trading in grain, rice, wheat, and other groceries. Baba read also this thought and said to him, you will be buying at 5 shears and selling at 7 shears a rupee. So this business was also given up. The rise in the prices of grains was kept up for some time, and Baba's prophecy seemed to be falsified. But in a month or two, there was abundant rain everywhere, and the prices suddenly fell down. And therefore, those who stored grains suffered a severe loss. Damu Anna was saved from this fate. Needless to say that the cotton speculation, which was conducted by the broker with the help of another merchant, also collapsed with a severe loss to the adventurers. After seeing that Baba had saved him from 2 severe losses in cotton and grain speculations, Damu Anna's faith in Baba grew strong, and he remained a true devotee of Baba till his passing away, and even now. Amra Lila, mango miracle. Once a parcel of about 300 good mangoes was received at Shirdi. It was sent from Goa by one Mamlatdar named Rale to Sai Baba in the name of Shama. When it was opened, all the mangoes were found to be in good condition. They were given in Shama's charge, and only 4 were retained and placed in the kolamba, meaning the pot, by Baba. He said that these 4 fruits are for Damu Anna, let them lie there. This Damu Anna had 3 wives. According to his statement mentioned above, he had not 3 but 2 wives only. He had no issue. He consulted many astrologers and himself studied astrology to some extent and found that as there was a papi or inauspicious planet in his horoscope, there was no prospect of any issue to him in this life. But he had great faith in Baba. When he went to Shirdi, 2 hours after the receipt of the mango parcel for worshipping Baba, he said, though other people are looking for the mangoes, they are Damias. He whose they are should eat and die. Damu Anna, on hearing these words, was first shocked. But on Mahalsapati, a prominent Shirdi devotee, explaining to him that the death meant the death of the little self or egos, and to have it at Baba's feet was a blessing. He said that he would accept the fruits and eat them. But Baba said to him, do not eat yourself, but give them to your junior wife. This Amra Lila, mango miracle of 4 mangoes, will give her 4 sons and 4 daughters. This was done and ultimately, in due course, it was found Baba's words turned out true and not those of the astrologers. Baba's speech established its efficacy or greatness while he was living in the flesh. But wonder of wonders, it did the same even after his passing away. Baba said, "Believe me, though I pass away, my bones in my tomb will give you hope and confidence. Not only myself, but my tomb would be speaking, moving, and communicating with those who would surrender themselves wholeheartedly to me. Do not be anxious that I would be absent from you. You will hear my bones speaking and discussing your welfare. But remember me always. Believe in me, heart and soul, and then you will be most benefited." Prayer. Hemant Pant closes this chapter with a prayer. O Sai Sadguru, the wish-fulfilling tree of the Bhaktas, let us never forget and lose sight of your feet. We have been troubled with the ins and outs, meaning births and deaths, in this samsara. Now free us from this cycle of births and deaths. Restrain us from the outgoing of our senses to their objects and introvert us and bring us face to face with the Atma or the self. As long as this outgoing tendency of the senses and the mind is not checked, there is no prospect of self-realization. Neither son nor wife nor friend will be in any use in the end. It is only you who will give us salvation and happiness. Destroy completely our tendency for discussions and other evil matters. Let out tongue get a passion for chanting your name. Drive out our thoughts, good or otherwise, and make us forget our bodies and houses, and do away with our egoism. Make us ever remember your name and forget all other things. Remove the restlessness of our mind and make it steady and calm. If you just clasp us, the darkness of night of our ignorance will vanish, and we shall live happily in your light. That you made us drink the nectar of your Leelas and awakened us from our slumber is due to your grace and our store of merits in the past births. Note, in this connection, the following extract from Dhamma Anu's statement mentioned above is worth pursual on page 76. Once, when I sat at his feet, along with many others, I had two questions in my mind, and he gave answers to both. There are so many crowding to Sai Baba. Do they all get benefit from him? To this, he replied orally, "Look at the mango tree in blossom. If all the flowers brought fruit, what a splendid crop it would be. But do they? Most fall off, either as flowers or as unripe fruits, by wind, etc. Very few remain." The second question was about myself. If Baba were to pass away, how hopelessly adrift I would be, and how am I to fare then? To this, Baba answered that he would be with me when and wherever I thought of him. That promise he had kept up before 1918 and has been keeping up after 1918. He is still with me. He is still guiding me. This was about 1910 to 1911, when brothers separated from me and my sister died, and there was a theft and a police inquiry, all of which incidents upset me very much. When my sister died, my mind was much upset. I did not care for life and enjoyments. When I went to Baba, he pacified me with his Upadesh and made me eat a feast of Puran Poli at Appa Kulkarni's house and get pasted with sandal. There was a theft in my house. A 30 years friend of mine stole my wife's jewel box, including her auspicious nathi, meaning the nose ring. I wept before Baba's photo. The next day, the man returned the jewel box and prayed for pardon. Bow to Shri Sai, peace be to all.
Chapter 26, Preliminary. All the things that we see in the universe are nothing but a play of Maya, the creative power of the Lord. These things do not really exist. What really exists is the real absolute. Just as we mistake a rope of a garland or a stick for a serpent on account of darkness, we always see the phenomenon, things as they outwardly appear, and not the noumenon, which underlies all the visible things. It is only the Sadguru that opens the eyes of our understanding and enables us to see things in their true light, and not as they appear. Let us, therefore, worship the Sadguru and pray to him to give us the true vision, which is nothing but God vision. Inner worship. Hemantpat has given us a novel form of worship. Let us, he says, use hot water in the form of tears of joy to wash the Sadguru's feet. Let us besmear his body with the sandal paste of pure love. Let us cover his body with the cloth of true faith. Let us offer 8 lotuses in the form of our 8 sattvic emotions, and fruit in the form of our concentrated mind. Let us apply to his head baka, black powder, in the form of devotion, and tie the waistband of bhakti and place our head on his toes. After decorating the Sadguru with all jewelry in this way, let us offer our all to him and wave chamar of devotion to ward off heat. After such blissful worship, let us pray thus. Introvert our mind, turn it inward, give us discrimination between the unreal and the real, and non-attachment for all worldly things, and thus enable us to get self-realization. We surrender ourselves, body and soul, body consciousness and ego. Make our eyes yours so that we should never feel pleasure and pain. Control our body and mind as your will and wish. Let our mind get rest in your feet. Now let us turn to the stories of this chapter. Bhakta Pant. Once it so happened that a devotee by name Pant, a disciple of another Sadguru, had the good fortune of visiting Shirdi. He had no mind to go to Shirdi, but man proposes one way and God disposes the other. He was traveling in a BB and CI railway train when he met many friends and relations bound for Shirdi. They all asked him to accompany them, and he could not say nay. They alighted at Bombay when Pant got down at Virar. There he took the permission of his Sadguru for the Shirdi trip, and after arranging for the expenses, left with the party for Shirdi. They all reached the place in the morning and went to the masjid at about 11 a.m. Seeing the concourse of the devotees assembled for Baba's worship, they were all pleased. But Pant suddenly got a fit and fell senseless. They were all frightened. Still, they tried their best to bring him to his senses. With Baba's grace and with pitchers of water, which they poured over his head, he regained his consciousness and sat upright, as if he was just awakened from sleep. The omniscient Baba, knowing that he was a disciple of another guru, assured him fearlessness and confirmed his faith in his own guru by addressing him as follows. Come what may, leave not, but stick to your bolster, support, i.e. guru, and ever remain steady, always at one ment in union with him. Pant at once knew the significance of this remark, and thus he was reminded of his Sadguru. This kindness of Baba he never forgot in his life. Harish Chandra Pitale. There was a gentleman by name Harish Chandra Pittal in Mumbai. He had a son who suffered from epilepsy. He tried many allopathic and Ayurvedic doctors, but there was no cure. There remained only one remedy, resorting to the saints. It has been stated in chapter 15, that Das Kanu, by his inimitable and splendid kirtans, spread the fame of Sai Baba in the Bombay Presidency. Mr. Pitale heard some of these kirtans in 1910 and learnt therefrom and from others that Baba, by his touch and mere glance, cured many incurable diseases. Then a desire arose in his mind to see Sai Baba. Making all preparations and taking presents and fruit baskets, Mr. Pitale came to Shirdi with family, wife, and children. He then went to the masjid with them, prostrated before Baba, and placed his sick son on Baba's feet. No sooner Baba saw the child than an untoward thing happened. The son immediately revolved his eyes and fell down senseless. His mouth began to foam, and his whole body began to perspire profusely, and it seemed as if he breathed himself out. Seeing this, the parents became very nervous and excited. The boy used to get such fits very often, but this fit seemed to persist long. Tears began to flow ceaselessly from the mother's eyes, and she began to wail, crying that her condition was like that of a person who, being afraid of the robbers, ran into a house which collapsed on him, or like a cow fearing a tiger, ran into the hands of a butcher, or like a traveler who, being tormented by the heat of the sun, went to take refuge under a tree which fell upon him, or like a devout person going for worship into a temple which collapsed upon him. Then Baba comforted her, saying, "Do not wail like this. Wait a bit. Have patience. Take the boy to your lodging. He will come to his senses within half an hour." They did as directed by Baba and found his words came true. As soon as he was taken into the wara, the boy recovered, and all the Pitale family, husband, wife, and others, were very delighted, and all their doubts disappeared. Then Mr. Pitale came with his wife to see Baba and prostrated himself before him very humbly and respectfully, and sat shampooing his legs and mentally thanking Baba for his help. Baba then smilingly said, "Are not all your thoughts, doubts, and apprehensions calmed down now? Hurry, Lord will protect him who has got faith and patience." Mr. Pitale was a rich and well-to-do gentleman. He distributed sweetmeat on a large scale and gave Baba excellent fruits and pan, betel leaves. Mrs. Pitale was a very sattvic lady, simple, loving, and faithful. She used to sit near the post staring at Baba with tears of joy flowing down from her eyes. Seeing her of an amicable and loving nature, Baba was much pleased with her. Like God, saints are always dependent on their devotees who surrender and worship them with their heart and soul. After passing some happy days in Baba's company, the Pitale family came to the masjid to take Baba's leave to depart. Baba gave them udi and blessings and called Mr. Pitale close by and said to him, "Bapu, I had given you before 2 rupees. Now I give you 3 rupees. Keep these in your shrine for worship and you will be benefited." Mr. Pitale accepted these as prasad, prostrated himself again before Baba and prayed for his blessings. A thought arose in his mind that as this was his first trip to Shirdi, he could not understand what Baba meant when he said that he had given 2 rupees previously. He was curious to have this mystery solved, but Baba kept silent. When Mr. Pitale returned to Bombay, he narrated to his old mother all that had happened at Shirdi and the mystery about Baba giving him 2 rupees formally. The mother also did not understand the mystery, but thinking seriously about that, she was reminded of an old incident which solved the mystery. She said to her son, "As you now went to Sai Baba with your son, so had your father done when he took you to Akkalkot for the darshan of the Maharaj there many years ago. That Maharaj was also a Siddha, perfect yogi, omniscient and liberal. Your father was pure, devout, and his worship was accepted. He then gave your father 2 rupees for being kept in the shrine and worshipped. Your father worshipped them accordingly till his death, but thereafter the worship was neglected and the rupees were lost. After some years, the memory of these 2 rupees also disappeared, and now, as you are very fortunate, the Akkalkotkar Maharaj has appeared to you in the form of Sai Baba, just to remind you to your duties and worship, and to ward off all dangers. Now beware henceforth, leave off all doubts and bad thoughts, follow your ancestors and behave well, go on worshipping the family gods and the rupees, appraise properly, and take pride in the blessing of the saints. Sai Samartha has kindly revived the spirit of bhakti in you. Cultivate it in your benefit. Hearing the remarks of the mother, Mr. Pitle was very much delighted. He came to know and was convinced about the all-pervasiveness of Baba and the significance of his darshan. From that time, he became very careful about his behavior. Mr. Ambadekar. Mr. Gopal Narayan Ambadekar of Pune was a devotee of Baba. He served for 10 years in the Abkari department in the Thana district and in Jawar state, from where he had to retire. He tried to get some other job, but he did not succeed. He was overtaken by other calamities and his condition grew from bad to worse. He passed 7 years in this condition, visiting Shirdi every year and placing his grievance before Baba. In 1916, his plight became worse and he decided to commit suicide in Shirdi. So he came there with his wife and stayed for 2 months. One night, while sitting in a bullock cart in front of Dixit's Wada, he resolved to end his life by throwing himself into a well close by. He proposed to do one way, but Baba wished to do something else. A few paces from this place, there was a hotel, and its proprietor, Mr. Sagun, a devotee of Baba, came out and accosted him thus. Did you ever read this Akal Kotkar Maharaj's life? Ambadekar took that book from Sagun and began to read it. Casually, or we may say providentially, he came across a story which was to this effect. During the lifetime of Akal Kotkar Maharaj, a certain devotee suffered very much from an incurable disease, and when he could endure the agony and pain no longer, he became desperate to end his miseries and threw himself one night into a well. Immediately the Maharaj came there and took him out with his own hands and advised him thus, you must enjoy the fruit, good or bad, of your past actions. If the enjoyment be incomplete, suicide won't help you. You have to take another birth and suffer again. So instead of killing yourself, why not suffer for some time and finish up your store of the fruit of your past deeds and be done with it once and for all? Reading this appropriate and timely story, Ambadekar was much surprised and moved. Had he not got Baba's hint through the story, he would have been no more. On seeing Baba's all-pervasiveness and benevolence, his faith in him was confirmed, and he became a staunch devotee. His father was a devotee of Akal Kotkar Maharaj, and Sai Baba wanted him to walk into his father's steps and continue his devotion to him. He then got Sai Baba's blessings, and his prospects began to improve. He studied astrology and gained proficiency in it, and thereby improved his lot. He was able to earn sufficient money and passed his afterlife in ease and comfort. Bow to Shri Sai, peace be to all.
Chapter 27. Favor shown by giving Bhagavad and Vishnu Sastraman Nam Dixit with television Gita Rasaya Kapar. This chapter describes how Sai Baba favored his devotees by granting them religious books after he had touched and consecrated them for pranayam, reading regularly, and certain other matters. Preliminary. When a man takes refuge at the feet of the Sadguru, he gets the merit of bowing to the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, and also Parabrahma. Victory be unto Shri Sai, the wish-fulfilling tree and the ocean of knowledge, who gives us such self-realization. O Sai, create in us the reverence of his stories. Let the readers and audience devour them with the same relish with which the chatak bird drinks the water from the clouds and become happy. While listening to your stories, let them and their families get all true and pious emotion bliss. Let their bodies perspire, let their eyes be full of tears, let their breath be steady, let their minds be composed, let their hair stand on end, let them cry, sob and quiver. The hostility vanish. When these things happen, there is a sign of the grace of the Guru dawning upon them. When these emotions grow in you, the Guru is the most pleased and will certainly lead you on the path of self-realization. The best way, therefore, to get free from shackles of Maya is our complete and wholehearted surrender to Baba. The Vedas cannot take you across the ocean of Maya. It is only the Sadguru who can do so and make you see God in all creation, all creatures. Granting consecrated book. The various methods of imparting instructions. followed by Baba, have already been noticed in previous chapters. In this, we shall deal with one aspect of it. It was the habit of some devotees to take to Baba some religious books, of which they wanted to make a special study and receive the same back from him. After they had touched the consecrated by him, while reading such books daily, they felt that Baba was with them. O Kaka Mahajani came to Shirdi with a copy of Eknati Bhagwat. Sharma took this book to read in the masjid. Then Baba took it from him, touched it, and turning some pages here and there, gave it back to Sharma and asked him to keep it with him. When Sharma said that this belonged to Kaka, he had to return to him. No, no, replied Baba. As I have given you to you, you better keep it. It will be used to you. In this way, many books were entrusted to Sharma. Kaka Mahajani, after a few days, came again with another copy of the same Bhagavad and gave it to Baba's hand. Then Baba gave it back as prasad and asked him to preserve it well and assured him that it would stand him in good stead. Kaka accepted it with reverence. Sharma and Vishnu Sansaranam. Sharma was a very intimate devotee of Baba, and Baba wanted to favor him in a particular way by giving him a copy of Vishnu Sansaranam as prasad. This was done in the following way. Once Ramadasi, follower of Saint Ramdas, came to Shirdi and stayed there for some time. The routine he followed daily was as follows. He got up early in the morning, washed his face, bathed, and then after wearing saffron-colored clothes, besmearing himself with sacred ashes, read Vishnu Sansaranam, a book giving 1,000 names in praise of Vishnu and held second in importance to Bhagavad Gita. An Adhyatam Ramayan esoteric version of Rama's story with faith. He read these books very often. After some days, Baba thought of favoring and initiating Sharma with Vishnu Sansaranam. He therefore called Ramdasi to him and said to him that he was suffering from intense stomach pain, and unless he took Cenapos, Sonamukhi, a mild purgative drug, the pain would not stop. So he should please go to the bazaar market and bring the drug. The Ramdasi closed his reading and went to the bazaar. Then Baba came to his seat, to Ramdasi's place of reading, and took the copy of Vishnu Sansaranam, and after coming back to his seat, said to Sharma, Sharma, this book is very valuable and efficacious, so I present it to you. You read it. Once I've suffered intensely, and my heart began to palpitate, and my life was in danger, and at critical moments I hugged this book to my heart, and then Sharma, what a relief it gave me. I thought that Allah himself came down and saved me, so I give this to you. Read it slowly, little by little. Read daily, one name at least, and it will do you good. Sharma replied that he did not want it, that the owner of it is Ramdasi, who was bad-tempered, obstinate, and irritable fellow, would certainly pick up a quarrel with him. Besides being rustic himself, he could not read distinctly the Sanskrit Devangari script text of the book. Sharma thought that Baba wanted to set him up against Ramdasi by this act of his, but he had no idea what Baba felt for him. Baba must have thought to tie a necklace of Vishnu Sansaranam around the neck of Sharma, as he was an intimate devotee, though a rustic, and thus save him from miseries of the worldly existence. The efficiency of God's name is well known. It saves us from old sins and bad tendencies, frees us from cycle of birth and death. There is no easier sadhana than this. It is the best purifier of our mind. It requires no paraphernalia and no restriction. It is so easy and so effective. This sadhana Baba wanted Sharma to practice, though he did not crave for it. So Baba forced this on him. It is also reported that long ago Eknath Maharaj similarly forced this Vishnu Sansaranam on a poor Brahmin neighbor and thus saved him. The reading and studying of Vishnu Sansaranam is a broad open way of purifying the mind, and hence Baba thrust this on his devotee Sharma. The Ramdasi returned soon with Senapods. Anna Chinichanikar, who was then present, wanted to play the part of Narad, the cellist Rishi, who was well known for setting up confrontation between gods and demons and vice versa. Informed him of what had happened. The Ramdasi once flared up. He came down at once on Shama and with full fury. He said it was Shama who set Baba to send him away under the pretext of stomach ache for bringing the medicine, and thus took away my book. He began to scold and abuse Shama and remarked that if the book was not returned, he would dash his head. Shama calmly remonstrated with him, but in vain. Then Baba spoke kindly to him as follows: "O Ramdasi, what is the matter with you? Why are you so turbulent? Is not Shama our boy? Why do you scold him unnecessarily? How is this that you are so quarrelsome? Can you not speak soft, tender words? You read these sacred books daily, and still in your mind is agitated and your passions uncontrolled. What sort of Ramdasi are you? You ought to be indifferent to all things. Is it not strange that you should possess this book so strongly? A true Ramdasi should have no mamta, attachment. We have samata, equality towards all. We are now quarreling with Shama for a mere book. Go, take your seat. Books can be held, plenty with money, but not men. I think well and be considerate. What worth of your book? Shama had no concern with it. I took it myself and gave it to him. You know it by heart. I thought Shama might read it and benefit thereby, so I gave it to him." How sweet were these words of Baba, soft, tender, and nectar-like. The effects were wonderful. The Ramdasi calmed down and said to Shama that he would take Panchratni Gita in return. Shama was pleased and said, "Why one? I give you 10 copies in return." So the matter was ultimately settled. The question for consideration: why should Ramdasi press for Panchratni Gita, a book for which he never cared to know? Why should he daily read religious books in the masjid in front of Baba, quarrel with Shama before him? We do not know how to apportion the blame and whom to blame. We should say that the incident not happen. The importance of the subject or the efficiency of God's name and the significance of Vishnu Sansaranam would have not been brought home to Shama. So we see Baba's method, teaching and initiating, was unique. In this case, Shama did gradually study the book and mastered the content to such extent that he was able to explain it to Professor G.G. Narke, M.A. of the College of Engineering, Pune, the son-in-law of Srimati Bhuti and a devotee of Baba. Vittal vision. One day, Kakasab Dixit was in meditation. After his morning bathe in his vara at Shirdi, he saw a vision of Vittal. When he went to see Baba afterwards, Baba asked him, "Did Vittal Patil come? Did you not see him? He was very elusive. Hold him fast, otherwise he will give you a slip and run away." Then at noon, a certain hawker came there with 20 or 25 pictures of Vittal of Pandharpur for sale. Mr. Dixit was surprised to see that the form of the Vittal he saw in his meditation exactly tallied with that in the picture, and he was also reminded by Baba's word. He therefore bought one picture most willingly and kept it in his shrine for worship. Gita Rasai. Baba always loved those who studied Brahma Vidya, metaphysics, and encouraged them to give an instance. Once Bapu Sahib Jog received the post parcel. It contained a copy of Gita Rahasai by Lokmaya Tilak. Taking it under his armpit, he came to the masjid and prostrated before Baba. When the parcel fell at Baba's feet, Baba inquired what it was. It was opened then, and there the book was placed in Baba's hand. He turned some pages here and there in a few minutes, took out a rupee from his pocket, placed it on the book, and handed the same with a rupee to Jog, and said to him, "Read this completely and you will be benefited." Mr. and Mrs. Kaka Paride. Let us close this chapter with a description of the Kapardes. Once Dadasaheb Kaparde came with his family to live in Shirdi for months. The diary of his stay was published in English in Shri Sai Leela magazine, 1 volume. Dada Sahib was not an ordinary man. He was effusive and most famous advocate of Amarvati Bera and was a member of the Council of the State in Delhi. He was an intelligent and a very good speaker. He dared not open his mouth before Baba. Most devotees spoke and argued with Baba off. And so on only 3 weeks, Kaparde Nulkar and Bhutti kept always silent. They were meek, modest, humble, and good-natured. Dada Sahib was able to expound Panchdasi, well-known Sanskrit treatise on Advait philosophy by famous Vidyaranya to others. To others uttered no words when he came to the masjid before Baba. A man, however learned he may even in Vedas fade away before one who has realized Brahma and become one with it. Learning cannot stand before self-realization. Dada Sahib stayed for 4 months, but Mrs. Kaparev stayed for 7. Both were highly pleased with their Shirdi stay. Mrs. Kaparev was faithful and devout and loved Baba deeply. Even noon she brought Naivadi herself to the masjid, and after it was accepted by Baba, she used to return and take her meals. On seeing her steady and firm devotion, Baba wanted to exhibit it to others. One noon she brought a dish containing sanza, wheat pudding, puris, rice soup and kheer, sweet rice and other sundry articles to masjid. Baba, who usually waited for hours, got up at once, went up to his seat, and removing his cover, the dish began to partake of the things jealously. Shama then asked him, "Why this partiality? At times you throw away dishes to others and do not take care to look at them, but this appeals you earnestly. Why is this dish brought by this lady so sweet? This intrigues us." Baba then explained, "This food is really extraordinary. In former birth, this lady was a merchant's fat cow yielding much milk. Then she disappeared and took birth in the gardener's family, then in Kshatriya's family, then married a merchant. She was born in a Brahmin family. I saw her after a very long time. Me take some sweet morsel of love from her dish." After saying this, Baba did full justice to her dish, washed his mouth and hands, blanched out as he was fully satisfied, and resumed to his seat. Then she bowed down and began to shampoo Baba's legs, and began to talk to her, and kneaded her arms, with shampooing his legs. On seeing this reciprocal service, Shama began to joke and said, "It is going on well. It is a wonderful sight to see God and his bhaktas serving each other." After being pleased with this sincere service, Baba asked in low, fascinating tone to chant Raja Ram, then and always, and said, "If you do so in your life's object will be achieved. Your mind will attain peace, and you will be immensely benefited." To persons unfamiliar with spiritual matters, this might appear to polite gesture, but really it is not so. In this case of this technically called Shakti part, that is transience of power from the Guru to the disciple. How effective were Baba's words! In an instant they pierced her heart and remained there. This case illustrates the nature of these relations that should subsist between Guru and disciple. Both should love and serve each other as one. There is no discrimination nor any difference between them. Both are one, and one cannot live without the other. The disciple, placing his head at the Guru's feet, is grossed on or outward vision. Really, intentionally, they are both one and the same. Those who see any difference between them are yet unripe and not perfect. Bow to Shri Sai. Peace to be all.
Chapter 28. Sparrows Drawn to Shirdi. Preliminary. Sai is not finite or limited. He dwells in all beings, from ants and insects to the god Brahma. He pervades all. Sai was well versed in the knowledge of the Vedas, as well as in the science of self-realization. As he was proficient in both these, he was well fitted to be the Sadguru. Anyone, though learned, but not able to awaken the disciples and establish them in self-realization does not deserve to be called a Sadguru. Generally, the father gives birth to the body, and death invariably follows life. But Sadguru does away with both life and death, and so he is more kind and merciful than anybody. Sai Baba often said that let his man, devotee, be at any distance, 1,000 kos away from him. He will drone to Shirdi like a sparrow, like a thread tied to its feet. This chapter describes the stories of 3 such sparrows. Lala Lakshmi Chand. This gentleman was first serving in the railways and afterwards in Shri Venkateshwar Press in Mumbai, and thereafter in the firm of Messrs. Raleigh Brothers as a Munshi clerk. He got the contact of Baba in 1910. 1 or 2 months before Christmas, he saw in his dream at Santa Cruz, a suburb of Bombay, an old man with a beard standing and surrounded by his bhaktas. Some days later, he went to the house of his friend, Mr. Dattatreya Manjunath Bijul, to hear the kirtan by Das Kanu. It was always the practice of Das Kanu to keep Baba's picture in front of the audience while making the kirtan. Lakshmi Chand was surprised to see that the features of the old man he saw in his dream tallied exactly with those in the picture, and thus he came to the conclusion that the old man he saw in his dream was Sai Baba himself. The sight of this picture, Das Kanu's kirtan, and the life of the Saint Tukaram, on which Das Kanu discoursed, all these things made a deep impression on his mind, and he pined to go to Shirdi. It is always the experience of the Bhaktas that God always helps them in their search for Sadguru and other spiritual endeavors. That very night at 8 p.m., a friend named Shankar Rao knocked at his door and asked him whether he would accompany him to Shirdi. His joy knew no bounds, and he at once decided to go to Shirdi. He borrowed rupees 15 from his cousin, and after making due preparations, left for Shirdi. In the train, he and his friend Shankar Rao did some bhajan, sang religious songs, and inquired about Sai Baba with some fellow passengers, 4 Mohammedans, who were returning to the place near Shirdi. They all told them that Sai Baba was a great saint living in Shirdi for many years. Then, when they reached Kopargaon, he wanted to buy some good guavas for offering to Baba, but he was so much enwrapped with the scenery and sights there that he forgot to purchase them. When they were nearing Shirdi, he was reminded of the guavas. Just then, he saw an old woman with a guava basket on her head running after the tanga. The tanga was stopped, and he gladly purchased some select fruits, when the woman said, "Take all the rest and offer them on my behalf to Baba." The fact's this, that he intended to purchase guavas, but that he had forgotten to do so. The old woman's encounter and her devotion to Baba. All these were a surprise to both friends. Lakshmi Chand and his friend thought in his mind that the old woman might be some relation of the old man he saw in his dream. Then they drove on and came near Shirdi. And on seeing flags on the masjid, they saluted them with puja materials in hand. Then they went to the masjid and worshipped Baba with due formality. Lakshmi Chand was much moved and was extremely happy to see Baba. He was enwrapped with Baba's feet as a bee with a sweet-smelling lotus. Then Baba spoke as follows. Cunning fellow, he does bhajan on the way and inquires from others. Why ask others? Everything we should see with our own eyes. Where is the necessity to question others? Just think for yourself whether your dream is true or not. Where there was a necessity of the darshan by taking a loan from a Marwari? Is the heart's desire now satisfied? Hearing these words, Lakshmi Chand was wonderstruck at Baba's omniscience. He was at a loss to know how Baba came to know about all the things that happened en route from his house to Shirdi. The chief thing to note in this respect is that Baba never liked people to run into debt for taking his darshan, or celebrating any holiday, or making any pilgrimage. Sanza. At noon, with Lakshmi Chand was sitting for meals, he got some sanja, wheat pudding, from a devotee as prasad. He was pleased to have it. Next day also he expected it, but got nothing. So he was anxious to get it again. Then, on the third day, at the noon aarti time, Bapu Sahib Jog asked Baba what naivedya he should bring. Baba told him to bring sanza. Then the bhaktas brought 2 big potfuls of sanzas. Lakshmi Chand was very hungry and there was some pain in his back. Then Baba said to him, "It is good that you are hungry. Take sanza and some medicine for the pain in the back." He was again wonderstruck to see that Baba again read his mind and spoke out what was passing therein. How omniscient was he! Evil eye. On this occasion, he once witnessed one night the procession to the Chowri. Baba then suffered much more cough. He thought that his suffering of Baba might be due to somebody's evil eye. Next morning, when he went to the masjid, Baba spoke to Shama as follows: "I suffered last night from cough. Is it due to some evil eye? I think that somebody's evil eye has worked on me, and so I'm suffering." In this case, Baba spoke out what was passing in Lakshmi Chand's mind. On seeing these proofs of Baba's omniscience and kindness to his bhaktas, he fell prostrate at Baba's feet and said, "I'm much pleased with your darshan. Ever be kind and merciful to me and protect me always. There is no other God to me in this world except your feet. Let my mind be ever wrapped in your bhajan and feet. Let your grace protect me from the miseries of the world, and let me ever chant your name and be happy." After getting Baba's udi and blessings, he returned home with his friend, much pleased and contented, and singing Baba's glory on the way. He remained a staunch devotee of Baba afterwards, and always sent garland of flowers, camphor, and dakshina with any person of his acquaintance bound for Shirdi. Second devotee, Burhanpur lady. Now let us turn another sparrow. Baba's word meaning devotee. One lady in Burhanpur saw in a dream Sai Baba coming to her door and begging khichdi, rice cooked with dal and salt, for his meals. On awakening, she saw nobody at her door. However, she was pleased with the vision and told it to all, including her husband. He was employed in the postal department, and when he was transferred to Akola, both husband and wife, who were devout, decided to go to Shirdi. Then, on a suitable day, they left for Shirdi, and after visiting Gomti Tirath on the way, reached Shirdi and stayed there for 2 months. Every day they went to masjid, performed Baba's worship, and passed the time happily. The couple came to Shirdi to offer khichdi as a naivedya, but for the first 14 days, somehow or the other, it could not be offered. The lady did not like this delay. Then on the 15th day, she came at noon to the masjid with her khichdi. There she found that Baba and others were already sitting for meals and that the curtain was down. Nobody dared enter in when the curtain was let down, but the lady could not wait. She threw up the curtain with her hand and entered. Strange to say that Baba seemed that day hungry for khichdi and wanted that thing first, and when the lady came in with a dish, Baba was delighted and began to eat morsel after morsel of khichdi. On seeing the earnestness of Baba in this respect, everybody was wonderstruck, and those who heard the story of khichdi were convinced about his extraordinary love for his devotees. the third devotee, Megha. Now let us go to the third and bigger sparrow, Megha of Viramgam, who was a simple and illiterate Brahmin cook, or Rao Bahadur H.V. Sathe. He was the devotee of Shiva and was always enchanted the 5-syllable name Namah Shivaya. He did not know the Sandhya nor his chief mantra, the Gayatri. Rao Bahadur Sathe was interested in him, got him taught the Sandhya and the Gayatri. Sathe told him the Sai Baba of Shirdi was the embodied form of the god Shiva and made him start for Shirdi. At the Broach railway station, he learned that Sai Baba was a Muslim, and his simple and orthodox mind was much perturbed at the prospect of bowing to a Muslim, and he prayed to his master not to send him there. His master, however, insisted on his going there and gave him a letter of introduction to his Sathe's father-in-law, Ganesh Damodar alias Dada Kelkar at Shirdi, to introduce him to Sai Baba. When he reached Shirdi and went to the masjid, Baba was very indignant and would not allow him to enter. "Kick out the rascal," roared Baba, and then said to Megha, "You are a high caste Brahmin and I'm a low Muslim. You'll lose your caste by coming here, so get away." Hearing these words, Megha began to tremble. He was wondering as to how Baba had come to know what was passing in his mind. He stayed there for some days, serving Baba in his own way, but was not convinced. Then he went home. After that, he went to Triumvat, Nasik district, and stayed there for a year and a half. Then again he returned to Shirdi. This time, at the intercession of Dada Kelkar, he was allowed to enter the masjid and stay in Shirdi. Sai Baba's help to Megha was not through any oral instruction. He worked upon Megha internally, mentally, with the result that he was considerably changed and benefited. Then Megha began to look upon Sai Baba as an incarnation of Shiva. In order to worship Shiva, Bela leaves were required, and Megha used to go miles and miles every day to bring them and worship his Shiva Baba. His practice was to worship all the gods in the village and then come to the masjid, and after saluting Baba's Gadi, Asan, he worshipped Baba, and after doing some service, shampooing his legs, drank the washings, tirth of Baba's feet. Once it so happened that he came to the masjid without worshipping God Khandoba. As the door of the temple was closed, Baba did not accept his worship and sent him again, saying that the door was open then. Megha went, found the door open, worshipped the deity, and then returned to Baba as usual. Ganges bath. On one Makar Sankranti day, Megha wanted to besmear the body of Baba with a sandal paste and bathe him with Ganges water. Baba was first unwilling to undergo this operation, but at his repeated request, he consented. Megha had to traverse a distance of 8 kos, going and returning to bring the sacred water from the Gomati river. He brought the water, made all preparations for the bath at noon, and asked Baba to get ready for the same. Then Baba again asked him to be freed from this bath and saying that as a fakir, he had nothing to do or gain with Ganges water. But Megha did not listen. He knew that Shiva is pleased with the bath of Ganges water and that he must give this Shiva Baba that bath on that auspicious day. Baba then consented, came down and sat on a pat wooden board, and protruding his head said, "O Megha, do at least this favor. Head is the most important organ of the body, so pour the water over that only. It is equivalent to the whole or full bath." "All right," said Megha, and lifting the water pot up, began to pour it on the head. But in doing this, he was so much overwhelmed with love that he cried out, "Har Har Gange," and emptied the pot on the whole body. He kept the pot aside again, began to look at Baba. But to his surprise and amazement, he found that Baba's head was only drenched, but the body quite dry. Trident and Pindi. Megha worshipped Baba in two places. In the masjid, he worshipped Baba in person, and in the Vada, Baba's big picture given by Nana Sahib Chandorkar. This he did for 12 months. Then, in order to appreciate his devotion and confirm his faith, Baba gave him a vision. Early one morning, when Megha was still lying down on his bed with eyes closed but internally awake, he saw clearly Baba's form. Baba, knowing him to be awake, threw akshata, rice grains marked red with kumkum, and said, Megha, draw a trident, and disappeared. Hearing Baba's words, he eagerly opened his eyes but did not see Baba, but saw only rice grains spread here and there. He then went to Baba, told him about the vision, and asked permission to draw trident. Baba said, Did you not hear my words? Are always pregnant with meaning. Did you not hear my words? Asking to draw trident? It was no vision, but direct order, and my words are always pregnant with meaning and never hollow. Megha said, I thought you woke me up, but all the doors were closed, so I thought it was a vision. Baba rejoined, I require no door to enter. I have no form nor any extension. I always live everywhere. I carry on as a wire puller. All the actions of the man who trusts me and merges in me. Megha returned to the Vada and drew a red trident on the wall near Baba's picture. Next day, a Ramdasi Bhakt came from Pune, saluted Baba and offered him Pindi, an image of Shiva. At this time, Megha also turned up there. Baba said to him, See, Shankar has come. Protect, i.e. worship him now. Megha was surprised to see Pindi following trident immediately. Then also in the Vada, Kaka Sahib Dikshit was standing with a towel in his head after having taken his bath and was remembering Sai. When he saw a Pindi before his mental vision, while he was wondering about this, Megha came and showed him the Pindi presented to him by Baba. Dikshit was happy to know that the Pindi exactly tallied with the one he saw a few times before in his vision. In a few days, after the drawing of the trident was complete, Baba installed the Pindi near the bigger picture which Megha was worshipping. The worship of Shiva was dear to Megha, and by arranging the drawing of the trident and the installation of the Pindi, Baba confirmed his faith therein. After continuous service of Baba for many years, doing regular worship and arati every noon and evening, Megha passed away in 1912. Then Baba passed his hands over his corpse and said, This was a true devotee of mine. Baba also ordered that at his own expense, the usual funeral dinner should be given to the Brahmins, and this order was carried out by Kaka Sahib Dikshit. Bow to Shri Sai, peace to be all.
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Sai, Sai Sai, Hare Hare, Hare Baba, Baba Baba.
Hare
Hare Data, Data Data, Hare Hare, Hare Data, Data Data, Hare Hare. Ananta Koti Brahmanda Nayaka Rajadiraja Parabrahma Shri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Sainath Arpanamastu Shubham Bhavatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sairam everyone, and tomorrow we'll be back at 7:30 to 9:30, and on Wednesday, if you'd like to all join in and We've got a lovely lady singing Baba's Aarti for us. So if you'd all like to offer an Aarti from your own homes, that would be wonderful. So we'll all be